So my name is Zach Reeder. I'm with Family Life Counseling, Psychiatric Services in Mansfield. I'm the Adolescent Program Director. I work with at-risk youth with substance use disorders, predominantly between the ages of 13 and 18. I also work with adults that have substance use issues. My licensure would be a chemical dependency counselor. I'm a CDCA 2, which means that I've been in it for over a year. But that's not how I got started. A little bit about myself. I am an addict. I'm a pretty severe addict. I've been an alcoholic since I was 18, and I've been a cocaine addict since I was 20. No longer I do not use. By the grace of God, I've recovered. But I started playing music when I was 18. I started playing music obviously earlier than that, but I started playing in bars when I was 18 and got a really nasty liking for alcohol in a really bad way. I just liked how it made me feel. Anybody in here ever drank? 100%. Keep it 100. There's no incrimination here. If you drank, you drank. Pretty common with high school kids. I mean, it's pretty common to try things, experiment, do things. Parties, good time. About the time I was 21, I discovered cocaine and realized that it helped me drink a lot more than I would typically drink in an evening. Had a friend find me in the bathroom, puked and passed out. Sorry for the graphic imagery. And hit me with a line of cocaine, perked me right up, and I went back and sat back on my drum set and finished the night out. Flash forward several years, I'm on tour with a band out of Columbus. I've had 4 songs on the radio, I've had 4 music videos, I've been to 48 states, and I've toured with a lot of the bands that you probably are familiar with. I won't bring them up, I won't talk about it, we're not going to talk about the band I was in. But I got a really nasty affection for cocaine on a daily basis. Not just cocaine, lots of other drugs, including methamphetamine, ketamine, heroin, pretty much anything you could put in my body, I'd be willing to take. So I got clean when I was 28, after dying twice, and decided that was no longer the way I wanted to live my life. I had a friend after I got clean that talked me into going out to a place called Mohican Youth Academy. Anybody ever heard of that? It's out in Loudonville. It's used to be the Department of Youth Services, which is pretty much prison for teenagers. Mohican Youth Academy is a private residential all-boys treatment facility for at-risk youth. I worked there for about 4 years. Realized that this was my God calling, working with kids that struggle. Flash forward a little bit further, start working for Richland County Juvenile Court, and now I've been with Family Life Counseling for about a year, and I run the adolescent program. So, your teachers asked me to come and speak on some of the current drug trends that are popular within your population at this current day and age. And I would say, as I was sitting down trying to think, what would be the most relevant thing to talk about, it was this. Anybody ever seen these? This is a Juul. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure that everybody has, because roughly 80% of the high school population use these. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to try to bust you out. I don't even know how many of you have a Juul in your pocket currently. But what we're here to do is to talk about what these are, what the current trends are, what the potential risks of using these are, and then we're going to kind of open it up for discussion and questions. Does that work? Yeah. All right. So this is a 2018 survey done by NIDA. Sorry if it's kind of stretched out. I tried to make it the size of the screen. So surge in youth current e-cigarette use, 1.5 million more students used e-cigarettes in 2018 versus 2017. That's a huge spike. Why do you think that is? What would be one reason why it's attractive to use a e-cigarette versus a regular cigarette?
It smells good.
Smells better than cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
How many flavors are there? This one's mango. It's pretty good. I'm also quit smoking about 3 months ago. I use a Juul as an adult to cessate, so to speak, from smoking cigarettes. I haven't smoked a cigarette in 3 months. Yay me. So, thanks, appreciate that. So, but that's a huge jump from 1 year, 1.5 million kids. It's a huge jump. So, among high school current e-cigarette users, rise in frequency and use of flavors, more used e-cigarette on 20 or more days, 20% in 2018 versus 20% in 2017. Now I work with a lot of kids that they're in my care for a lot of other things that aren't e-cigarette related. But what would you say, somebody give me an example of just how many students maybe you see in your school that vape? What's that? Majority vape? It's a trend. Did you smoke, now, do you think most of these people smoked cigarettes before vaping? Some? I started smoking cigarettes when I was 10. Yeah, I know, that's a crazy number. But I started smoking cigarettes when I was 10. And there wasn't obviously e-cigarettes when I was in high school. They came out in roughly about 2008 and got big from there. So now we're in 2019 and roughly 80% of kids in high school use them. So I guess really the next thing to talk about is what they look like. Now obviously this isn't going to be new information to most of you because the majority, as she said back there, use vapes. But here's the different kinds. So we have these big monstrous looking things, which I don't understand the trend with those. You need a backpack just to carry it. But there's so many different varieties. There's so many different sleek, designed, spacecraft looking e-cigarettes that can fit in this little spot right here. Easily concealable. Vapors are relatively scent-free unless you get one of those crazy fruity flavors. So what is an e-cigarette? Marketed as a healthier alternative to tobacco. That's what they're for. They were designed for people for smoking cessation, for people to reduce the harm of cigarettes because there's 6,000 chemicals in a cigarette versus roughly 5 in an e-cigarette. 3 of the main ones being flavor, artificial flavor, nicotine, and glycerin, which is oil. That's the oil that atomizes. So, significantly grew in popularity from 2011 until now, especially among middle school and high school students. E-cigarettes have been most commonly used tobacco product for youth since 2014. It is commonly used alongside conventional cigarettes and is common with young adults 18 to 24. So, would you think that there's teenagers, students in here that use regular cigarettes on top of their vape?
Yes.
What would be the objective? What would be the point, I guess, the purpose? Why use a vape instead of a cigarette if you like cigarettes? Let's be real about it.
I don't think they don't have a point.
There's no point? I guess I think like a criminal. I think like a juvenile delinquent, because I was a juvenile delinquent. So with a vape, I can carry it in my pocket. It's very small. It's not gonna conceal like a pack of cigarettes, right? I mean, a pack of cigarettes is gonna be something like that in your pocket. Versus a Juul, which you can't even see in my pocket. Vapor, so much more scentless and dissipates so much faster than tobacco smoke. So it's concealable, usable in virtually anywhere. So with that in mind, what would be the idea behind someone that smokes regular cigarettes, especially someone that's a teenager, using a vape?
They can get away with it.
They can get away with it, of course. They can get away with it. It's easy to conceal. Nobody's gonna know. It's so much easier than when I was in high school and you had to use this toilet paper roll and like a piece of toilet paper and like try to blow smoke up into the fan. It was this big convoluted mess of, and I always got caught every time. So in the last year, 2 years, FDA and a lot of people in authority over these things have been in a debate whether this is an epidemic or not. We're already in an epidemic, aren't we? As far as when it comes to substance use, we're in the opioid epidemic, right? So they're seeing that this is trending faster than opiates, heroin, fentanyl, Percocet, then this is trending faster than opiates in your age group. So on Wednesday, September 12th, 2018, the FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb announced enforcement actions to be taken in the wake of unpublished preliminary data showing an epidemic rise in vaping among young people. Has to do with the statistics that I showed you in one of the previous slides. Although the new data is not publicly available at this time, Dr. Gottlieb is referencing it as justification as for drastic enforcement actions such as banning flavors and pulling product lines off retail shelves. So for those of you that do vape, have you noticed a recent decline in the availability of certain flavors? Maybe the flavors that you liked, especially that are branded by companies like Juul. Because the only thing you can get right now from Juul is tobacco flavored and menthol flavored. Now what would be the idea of them pulling every other flavor off the shelf? Because the most popular one, statistically, has been mango. I like mango. Why would they do that?
To make it less appealing.
Make it less appealing to your population. So they're currently in debates on, and it wasn't just this, they're also debating on whether menthol cigarettes should continue to be legal. Menthol. Because there's a couple different other chemicals also in menthol cigarettes that are extremely harmful, like fiberglass. So you can imagine, I mean, you're already smoking copious amounts of horrible chemicals. Imagine breathing in fiberglass. Where's that gonna go? So now we're at a place where the FDA is saying this is real. This is trending up, and this is priming our youth to smoke because it's trendy. It tastes good because of all these different flavors. They're sleek. It's a popular thing. So the FDA is requiring manufacturers to submit in writing within 60 days, this has already happened, a detailed description of their plans to prevent youth access to smoke-free vapor products being sold. Hence why you're seeing a lot of these things being pulled off the shelf, at least the flavors. So this is actually pretty interesting. We got any like sciencey people in here? Like science major, like you're gonna go to college, you're gonna be a nurse. Like the whole back row in the blue scrubs?
Dental.
The what?
Dental.
Dental, fair enough. All right, well you're not gonna do much with the brain if you're dental, I suppose. But, so let's talk about neurobiology for a second. So, can anybody tell me how, at what age your brain's fully developed? 24? You say 24. Who else? Nobody? 26. 24 for, 24, between 24 and 25 for women. 26 for men. Sorry. Takes a little longer. So, and your brain develops back to front. So your most primal autonomic capabilities, body functions, blinking, heartbeat, breathing, swallowing, are autonomic, and those are the first things that develop. The next part of your brain is your midbrain that develops, which contains your limbic system. Anybody know what the limbic system is? It contains your amygdala. Anybody can tell me what an amygdala is? What do they teach you here, man? Amygdala controls your emotions. It's the fear center of your brain. Also directly connected to the hippocampus, which controls, or stores, not controls, but stores your memories and your experiences. So those things are interlocked together. So you ever thought about something like that happened and you got really pissed? Or thought about something and you cried? Like maybe somebody that passed away, somebody that you cared about. So you think about something, and then you feel something. Because the hippocampus sends that signal to the amygdala. Also part of the limbic system is your reward pathway. It's the scientific name of it would be the nucleus accumbens. This is your reward pathway. This is what sends signals to your brain to release serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins. So those three chemicals are your feel-good chemicals. Those are the chemicals that make you go, ooh, I like this. I'm happy now. So, foreign chemicals that are introduced to the body, like stimulants, which nicotine is a stimulant. Anybody else know what a stimulant is? Give me a different example of a stimulant. I'm gonna have to come back here more often, I guess. Cocaine, amphetamine, caffeine, stimulants. They release dopamine, endorphins, serotonin in your brain more so than what your brain typically releases from sex, food, sleep, a good TV show. I don't know what's a good TV show anymore. I still watch old stuff. I like Friends. But, so, nicotine being a stimulant releases dopamine. I like this. That's what it tells your brain. I like this. This feels good. It also increases your heart rate, constricts your blood vessels, among other things that aren't really that good for your body. But when it's something you're introducing to your body, to your brain, is constantly saying, I like this, your brain tends to develop a habit of going, hey, where is that? Give me more of that. I need that. Okay, you're not gonna give me that? I'm pissed now. I don't want to function without it. I'll do what I need to do to get it. Really, that's really what an addiction is. Doing something despite you knowing negative consequences, but you'll still continue to do it. A compulsion to use something. Nicotine, one of the most highly addictive chemicals out there, for sure. E-cigarettes contain typically twice as much, on the high end, twice as much as a normal cigarette. 6%. 6% in those little cartridges, and one cartridge is a pack. So let's break down the difference between like smoking a cigarette versus smoking off your vape pen. Because let's say you get a minute and you run outside and you light a cigarette and it burns down to the filter. What do you do when it burns down the filter? What do you do then? Put it out, right? How do you know when you're done smoking a vape? You don't. You have no idea. You have no idea how much nicotine you're putting in your body because there's no way to go, okay, I'm done now. It's just a continuous thing. There's no process. It's just continuous. So think about 6%, which is twice as much as a normal cigarette, at a rate that you have no way to regulate because you don't know when you're done. You're done whenever you're done. Or it's in your pocket, it's really easy to grab, so you do it, 27 times a day. Burning up a cartridge a day. That's a pack of cigarettes a day. At 6%, that's actually 2 packs of cigarettes compared to regular tobacco. So, back to the brain. So the difference, the idea, does this work? Can I write on it? So, I'm gonna give you an illustration, okay, about the way that DNA is stranded together from a teenager versus an adult, and why this is important. We'll talk about it. So, for an adult, excuse my handwriting, it's not very good. For an adult, this is what your gene expression looks like. Pretty close together, okay? For a teenager, for someone that's brain's developing, somebody up to 24 to 26, your DNA, your gene expression looks a little more like this. Obviously a huge difference there. And the big thing about this is you have all these little things that come out of your, in between your gene expression called dendrites. That's part of your hippocampus. These are the things that collect your memories, your experiences, and they lock them in. So as you're getting older, and older and older and older and older, you end up here. So if you've been using a substance as a teenager, and your brain has experienced this, it's locking it in. And then now your time has gone by and you're 25, 26, and you're done developing, you're done growing. You've essentially primed yourself to be more likely to become addicted to other substances just because smoking. It primes you to actually have more of a likelihood to become addicted to other stimulants. Give me a stimulant I named off other than nicotine. Caffeine. Caffeine. What else? Huh? Cocaine. Opiate. But yes, amphetamine. So it's priming you to be more impulsive, compulsive with overusing other substances, including caffeine, including coffee, or pop, soda, whatever. But on top of just priming you for addiction, nicotine has a couple other harmful side effects to an adolescent brain, a developing brain. It can, nicotine is also known to disrupt brain development, interfere with long-term cognitive functioning. What's cognitive functioning? Cognitive functioning would be your ability to operate on a day-to-day. Get from A to B, plan, organize, think things through before you jump off into it. When you're not able to function on that level of cognition, you become impulsive. You make poor decisions based on your emotions versus your logical brain. You obsess, compulsion, which is same as addiction. Addiction is a compulsion. I have to do this. Nothing's gonna be right until I do this. Nicotine primed you for that. Now that all seems like, whoa, that's heavy, man. Like, I'm gonna be a crackhead because I smoke cigarettes or a vape. That's not what I'm saying. But it certainly increases the chances that if you were to try those drugs, the likelihood that you could become addicted, for sure. It's scientifically proven, and it's real. I live it. I started smoking cigarettes when I was 10, started smoking weed when I was 16, started drinking, carried on. Came from a good home. I came from, my parents went to Crossroads. I grew up at Crossroads Community Church. Middle class, didn't want, need for anything. But, so, nicotine only the start. Nicotine is only the start. So, what that means is, obviously, because none of you guys are stupid, right? This thing right here has been a device that is being used now to use various other drugs, not just nicotine. You can go on Amazon and call up, order up from California 98% potent THC pods. It's not that hard. And it go right in this. It's just as easy to hide. Within the next couple years, and this is just my prediction, you're going to see a lot of trending with any drug that's water soluble, which most are. If you can shoot it, you can smoke it. By that I mean opiates, amphetamines, cocaine. Some of the biggest trends we see now are THC and synthetic cannabis, posh. Sorry, my gum's like stuck to my teeth. Synthetic posh, like K2, spice. And with those chemicals, they come from China. They're not regulated. They're often mislabeled, abused. So just like we've had trends with the K2, the spice, instead of them spraying that on potpourri, they're just going to load it up in a cartridge and put some glycerin in it and let you just smoke it. So these trends are happening right now. And I think it's important that you guys are aware, because it's always going to be your choice. It's not going to be any of your teachers' choices. It's not going to be your parents' choices. It's going to be your choice to decide whether you want to use a substance or not. Whether you drink, whether you smoke something, whether you snort something, it's always going to be your choice. But if you're forced to make a decision, make an informed one. Know what you're putting in your body. Because if you don't know what you're putting in your body, that's where it escalates. So what now? Get to know the facts. Know what you're putting in your body. Understand the risks. We just talked about some of the risks. Can somebody tell me what one of the risks were that I named? Say again? Prone to addiction. What else? What else can it do to your brain?
Less developing.
Stunts development. Good. Talk to your friends. Again, just get the facts, Or if you know somebody that is vaping that, shouldn't be. Maybe they're vaping something worse than nicotine. Share with them what you've learned today. And if you do have a substance use problem, get help now. Talk to your parents. Talk to a counselor. Talk to your school. Because it only gets worse if you don't deal with it now.